Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I'll let you know what I thought about them. And it is the first new comic book day of 2023. I hope you all have had a great new year already. And it is a light comic book week, but that's okay. I think we all deserve it. However, we always start with the pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week, Mosely, issue number 1 from Boom Studios. Now, this is written by Rob Guillory with artwork by Sam Lofty, coloring by Jean-Francois Beaulieu, and Andrew Thomas on the lettering. And I really like this book. I think it's got really nice artwork, and it's a cool story. It's kind of like a reimagining or a retelling, if you will, of the story of Moses, right? So it's about this dude. His name is Mosely. He lives in a world where we have advanced artificial intelligence so much that we basically have created artificial intelligence gods, and we have put them in charge of humanity. And now Mosely has been called upon and upgraded, it looks like, with some technology to basically be the savior of his people through their technological oppression. So I really like this book. At the core of it, though, it is a story about family, a father and a daughter in particular, and that's something that you see in Rob's work, in particular Farmhand. That comes across here in Mosely as well. I loved the setup, I loved the artwork, I loved the execution, and I loved the end, and I am rather excited to see where this story develops. Now, Rob Guillory is an excellent artist in and of his own right. He was the artist on Chew, and of course he's the artist and writer on Farmhand, but he's just solely writing this one, and Sam Lofty's able to do a little bit more of an epic in scale approach to the artwork than I think Rob would, and it works. It works so well. Rob as a writer works, Sam as an artist works, Jean-Francois works as a colorist. This book really worked. Basically, I should say that this book worked. I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. Clever concept and a nice executed package for the first pick of the week of 2023. Also from Boom, we have The Approach, issue number 3. This is about people stuck in an airport during a giant snowstorm, but there it was, a monster is stuck there too, and it's a very, like, Stranger Things looking kind of monster. And this issue is mostly this monster running around just killing people. It gets right into the horror of it, but it has a nice twist at the end. So The Approach, issue number 3, I thought was rather solid. Then we go over to DC. We got Batman 131. So Chip Zdarsky, the way he ended the failsafe run, where are we going to go from there? Basically, Batman pops up in a place unknown to him. So we're getting some exploration on some unknown things. I'm trying not to spoil this, right? But Batman wakes up in an unknown place. He has to deal with that. We got Mike Hawthorne coming in on the artwork. And when you have been spoiled with Jorge Jimenez and then Mike Hawthorne, I think he's a fine artist, but to me, it's just kind of typical. Nothing exciting or dynamic about it. So the story had some quirkiness to it that I felt got lost in translation with the artwork. So I am not the biggest fan of Mike Hawthorne to begin with, and I don't think Batman's the right fit. I don't know. The Joker is here with The Man Who Stopped Laughing, issue number 4. You know, I thought I was done with this book, but it was a rather light week, so I decided to read it, and it is alright. It's okay. Doesn't justify the $5.99 price tag. It's an interesting enough story. There's 2 Jokers out there. I know we just had 3 not too long ago, but there's 2 Jokers out there. One of them may or may not be an imposter, and this one, it's like Red Hood. It's just kind of retreading stuff. It's all right. It's decent. I love the artwork from Carmine Dijon Domenico, but it's just not doing anything unique enough to really keep me interested in this book, and this may be my last issue. Then we got Poison Ivy, issue number 8. So, after the end of the first arc, we kind of do this story get started in the last arc, and it's all right. But it just kind of wraps up really quickly here. And it doesn't necessarily wrap up in a bad way. The artwork, though, was a little so-so. This book has had inconsistent, yet consistently solid artwork throughout, if that makes sense. But this one, I think, was one of the weaker issues, story-wise and art-wise. So Poison Ivy's still a good book, but this one lacked a little bit of that luster that I've come to know Poison Ivy for. So it was just all right, kind of an abrupt ending, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think this book's about to get back on course. Hopefully. We shall see. Then we got Gotham City Year 1, issue number 4. After the devastating end of the last issue, where do you go? You go into typical film noir tropes. That's what Tom King's playing with here in this untold tale of this horrific chapter in Gotham's history. I like his use of Slam Bradley. I love Phil Hester's artwork here. I love the coloring by Jordi Belair. I think it's really solid. I don't think it's as solid as the last issue was. This one does kind of get overly verbose in what should be simple matters, but not as egregious as some of the King work of recent time, like Killing Time or something. Anyway, Gotham City, Year 1. This issue wasn't near as strong as issue number 3 because it didn't quite have that emotional punch, but it's still delivering what I think it's intending to deliver. And then we got Dark Knights of Steel, issue number 9. Everything is coming to a head, and straight up war starts erupting in this fantasy approach to the DC universe. All these pieces have been put in place by writer Tom Taylor, and now it's just going for it, right? And I really hope that these last, now 3 issues after this one, I hope those last few issues keep up this pace, keep up this momentum. I've enjoyed this. Tom Taylor excels and soars, I believe, when he takes these characters, gets to the root of those characters, but puts them in a different situation, whether it be Deceased or Dark Knights of Steel. I like it. Plus, you got Putri back on the artwork, and it just sings. Incredibly dynamic, big, epic, explosive superhero fantasy war action. There you go. Then we got Sword of Azrael, issue number 6. This has been the best take on the character of Jean-Paul Valley I've ever read, and I've read them all. And I've said that before, and I want to say it again here at the final issue. The work being done with Azrael, Jean-Paul, the lore of the Order of St. Dumas, and how it connects to like New Gods technology and stuff like that. I think it's clever. I think it's really honestly, I think it's honest to the character, to the character's faith. I think it's honest to the character's world. And I think this is just leveled up, not just the character of Jean-Paul Valley, but the entire world and mythos of the Order of St. Dumas, and sets up other factors. I would love to see these ideas get explored out further by Dan Waters. He's done an exceptional job, and Kizmizja has done an absolutely splendid job delivering dynamic artwork that's also able to carry some of those softer notes. And that's what I like for a story that is so philosophically based and so introspective in nature at times. It has a lot of action, it has a lot of dynamism, and it absolutely soars because of that. Soars is the word of the day. Now we got Scarlet Witch, a new Scarlet Witch series from Marvel Comics, and this was just alright. It's a little long. Steve Orlando's the writer. Usually Steve Orlando's work just doesn't quite land for me for some reason. You got Sarah Pichelli on the artwork, and the artwork is fine. It's actually some of the better Sarah Pichelli. Literally opened it up to the most boring page I could find. But anyway, Sarah Pichelli on the artwork, it's fine. Basically, what has happened is Scarlet Witch has opened up a magic shop. In it, she has this door, and this is a magical door, and anybody out there in the world who feels like they have no one else to turn to can magically walk through this door, and they'll show up to Scarlet Witch, and they'll get help. It kind of gave me a little bit of a... Do you remember when Buffy was set in the magic shop, right? With the magic box? Is that what they called it? Yeah, the magic box, something like that. Is that the name of it? In Buffy. Anyway, it had kind of those vibes. The story itself was just kind of alright. It was a thin story for the page count, so it kind of got boring and dull and meandered around for just a little bit. So it didn't really do much for me. I might come in and check out issue number 2. Then we got Joe Fixit, issue number 1. Peter David coming in to revisit the time when Hulk was gray and was a gangster in Las Vegas, right? So we're going back to that time, and this was a real fun book. Kingpin shows up into Las Vegas. He's trying to make a deal, and one of the funny things is, nobody knew in Vegas at the time that this was the Hulk, right? So Kingpin shows up, think he's going to take this dude out, and maybe don't quite go the way he wanted it to. Man, those pages opened up perfectly to exactly the right one. Has anybody tried these cookie M&Ms? I wonder if they're good. I haven't tried them. Anyway, Joe Fixit number 1 was a really solid return to that stuff. I love Peter David. I think he's a very consistent writer. This has been one of his better works of late. I liked his Mastro series. So Joe Fixit number 1, Really liked that one. Then we got Fantastic Four, issue number 3. So when Ryan North first got announced to be the writer of this book, I was very nervous, right? I've never read much Ryan North, and what Ryan North I had read, I didn't really like. I did like the first issue. I loved the second issue. Now, the third issue is another one-and-done, self-contained story focusing in on Johnny. So we're slowly introducing where the characters are before we kind of reveal what actually happened to the Baxter building and why they're now like pariahs of New York or something. But this is the Johnny Storm-centric issue, and without the assets of the Fantastic Four, he has to get a job, so he has to go in disguise, and he's got to work at like a Trader Joe's or some shit like that, right? It was all right. It's kind of about workers' rights and stuff like that, and that's fine and all, but I don't know. I had this nice sense of fun about it, and it was different in tone than the other 2 issues that came before, but this one just didn't really quite work for me. I thought it was all right. It's not something that annoyed me. It wasn't something that was bad. It was just something that was all right. That's decent enough, I guess, but I'm more excited to get into the next issue where they start revealing what's been going on. Then we got Gold Goblin, issue number 3. I was very much committed to reading every single Dark Web book. But I don't know, I might have to drop out of this one. It just kind of feels dull, it feels boring. It doesn't feel at all connected to Dark Web. Like, I mean, it's taking place at the same time. People are fighting demonic, regular-ass items, but I don't know, man. There's a lot to be explored with the idea of Norman Osborn having a conscience, losing his evil, having this guilt and remorse about what's come before, and trying to go on this heroic thread as the Gold Goblin. But it's just not doing it for me here. And the stuff with the Queen Goblin, I don't really care about it. So Gold Goblin, it's okay, but it's definitely quickly losing me. Let's jump over to Image. And from Image, we have Kaya number 4. Kaya? I think it's Kaya. I'm going with Kaya. Kaya number 4, this is from Wes Craig. Some of the best artwork you're going to see in a comic book this week for sure. The artwork in this book is amazing. The story is very nuanced with very little. There's not a lot of dialogue. It's a quick read. It's got amazing artwork. It's got cool concepts. It's this interesting like fantasy kind of land. But after the destruction of Kaya's village, she has to take her brother, right? Is it her brother? Yeah, she got to take her little brother somewhere. They're teaming up with these lizard people. This is a really great book with amazing artwork. It does kind of work almost all ages, definitely middle age and up. But I love it. I think it's amazing. The artwork is solid. The story is solid. The characters are rooted in relatability and empathy, and I really liked it. So Kaya's been absolutely splendid. Stillwater, issue 17, the penultimate issue of Stillwater, I believe. A lot of stuff is going on to put things in place for the finale, and this is one of those books, 17 issues in, where I'm literally like, I don't remember who that person is. Was she the sheriff in the beginning? Was that the dude from the beginning that went there and his friend? I have completely disengaged from the characters in this book, and I'm just reading it out of a habit to get to the end to see what happens. And then after it's all said and done, I would love to sit down and read it all as one and see how it goes together. But I guess it just hasn't been filled with exceptional character work because I really don't remember any of these people. I remember, the kid that's taken over. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Then we got Spawn here with issue 337. Love this cover. It was a decent enough issue. It kind of really does move the plot forward a little bit. And all this Dead Zone stuff's been going on for years now. And they're finally moving this forward a little bit and raising the stakes, so I like that. The artwork's all right. We're losing a flare of energy that most Spawn books have and have had, but we're starting to lose that a little bit in Spawn. I would never say that the story is the strongest in Spawn, but the artwork and the energy and flow of it usually is a strong point. We're starting to lose some of that, but even as the story is moving forward a little bit, I think the art's regressing backwards a little bit. We need to keep that artwork super dynamic. Not saying that the artwork is bad. It's fine. It has its moments, but this book's losing a flare of energy, and it needs to find that again. I hope it does. I'm sure it will. Then we got Spy Superb, issue number 1 from Dark Horse Comics. This is from Matt Kent. Fans of Matt Kent's work, including the stuff that he illustrates himself, like Mind Management, you're going to love this because he did this by himself with his wife, Charlene, and it's a really solid book. The basic idea is there is a joint effort between U.S. spy organizations and French spy organizations to come up with the Spy Superb. So there's this idea, and has been for decades, that there is this entity out there named Spy Superb who is the best spy ever because they've never been caught. But the secret is there is no Spy Superb. What happens is they figure out ways to get normal people to fulfill their wishes, right? To get them to accidentally pick up something that needs to be dropped off somewhere or do this, or right? So basically they create a bunch of random spies out of normal people who don't even know they're spies. And this is the story of one in particular, and it goes crazy and had a lot of fun with it. The art's probably not going to be to everybody's taste, but I absolutely loved it, and it does provide a nice flavor and texture to the story. And Matt Kent cares a lot about how his books are printed. It's the best smelling comic out there. So Spy Superb #1 I thought was rather superb. Then we got Trojan #1. This is from AWA. Daniel Krause, Lacey, and Marco Lesko. Artwork solid in this book. It took a while to really get to the point for me on this one. So this is a world in which like magical fairy type creatures have existed, but they have been marginalized to hide in the shadows, into the dregs of society, and they have to hide who they are and stuff like that. Then it's about this woman who finds this dude who's like crack smoking, and he's a dark web expert. She's trying to get him to take him to snuff rooms where they're killing fairies and other creatures and stuff like that. So it takes a long time to actually get to the point. So I found most of the book kind of just a little insufferable. It felt really thick. It took a while to get through, but it wasn't necessarily a super fluid and pleasant experience for me. When I got to the end, I thought that was fine. The book could have been a little bit more punchy, though. It was just all right. Then we got Purgatori Must Die from Dynamite Comics here. This is issue #1. This is a new Purgatori series, but it is written by Ray Fox, Salvador Ayala, I believe, on the artwork. It's the exact same team that did the Vampirella versus Purgatori. And what it is the gods have decided that it is over. Purgatori has got to go. We got to kill her. So they get everybody to go after Purgatori. So it's going to be everybody after her, right? And this is all set up, but I liked it. I thought it was cool. And we're talking everybody like Vampirella, Nyx, Draculina, Evil Ernie, Chastity. So like Chaos fans, this is a book I think you might like. And if you've never read a Purgatory book, it does pick up directly after things that have already happened. However, they do a great job of catching you up, not just on the story, but on the character, her origins, her motivations, things like that. So Purgatori Must Die. I had some fun with that one. Then we got Deathgasm, issue #1. This is from Opus. This is a silly comic, but it was kind of fun. It's about this, like, I guess they're like a metal band, and they fight monsters. So they do these shows and they kill demons and all this kind of stuff. And they wind up at this one show where these people turn into, I don't know how to describe it. They basically, I think they're shit monsters, like the Gotham or whatever from Dogma. But artwork's silly. It's a little gory. It's funny. It's interesting. It is what it is. A lot of homages to horror movies and exploitation movies and stuff like that. So I liked it. Deathgasm, issue #1. It was decent enough that if issue 2 comes out on a slow week, I might just have to check that out. Then we got Star Trek issue #3. First of all, love the Liana Kangas cover right there. But, I don't know, the book's still interesting enough. As a Star Trek fan, it's cool to see what happens to Sisko well after the end of Deep Space Nine. It's cool to see him form this new team with Worf and Crusher and Montgomery Scott and Tom Paris from Voyager even. And Q gets involved in this one. Basically, some entities are killing all these godlike entities in the universe, and Sisko's tasked to put together a team to go find out what the cause is. And so it's interesting things, but it's not I don't know. It does some decent character work. It's decent enough, but it just feels kind of clunky. I don't know. It's just not quite working for me. So I don't know. That might be the last one I read of that too, and then read it when it gets collected. So to recap, on this first new comic book day of the year, Star Trek is kind of losing me. Deathgasm was silly, stupid fun. Purgatory Must Die was silly, stupid fun. Trojan #1 had an interesting concept, but needed a little bit more punch to it. Spy Superb was rather cool. I liked it. Spawn's losing some of its luster, but there's still some movement in the story there. Stillwater, I'm completely just tapped out and disconnected from everything in this book. I just want to see how it ends. Not saying it's bad. Kaya is awesome. That's one of the best books out right now. Gold Goblin has lost me. Fantastic Four, not as good as the other two. It's decent enough. Joe Fixit, I had a lot of fun with that one. Then we got Scarlet Witch, just wasn't really working for me. Sword of Azrael was awesome. Dark Knights of Steel was awesome. Gotham City Year One was decent. Poison Ivy was all right. What else? We got Joker's lost me. I think I'm done with the Joker. I'm done with the Joker. Then we got Batman. Mike Hawthorne. Batman Not Just For Me. And then we got The Approach, which was really cool. But the pick of the week was Mosely. Really liked that. So out of this week, it was Mosely. It was The Approach. What am I doing? Like a top 5? I don't know. Spy Superb was great. Like, those are the ones I would really recommend. Maybe you check. Joe Fixit was good. And then, like, DC had some decent stuff. Yeah. And that's a dope cover right there. Cover of the week. We're going to start doing that here. Yeah, let's do it. One a week, right? Cover of the week. Star Trek #3, cover C by Leon Akagis. All right. That's what I read. That's what I'm reading. That's what I'm digging. What are you reading? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Station. Keep on reading. Pop, pop, boom.